I'm Jan McCredie. For anybody that doesn't know me, I'm a crossed over architect. Many years ago, I studied and a Master of Architecture looking at the western suburbs of Sydney, which was fairly unusual in the early 70s. And I was backpacking through Europe and I stumbled upon the Campo in Siena. Tears came to my eyes and I thought, I've spent 7 years at university and everything I learnt was wrong. So my colleagues, my peers at university felt I was a little harsh in making that statement. But what it meant was that I could no longer then have a career where I was devoting my life to aligning exposed screw heads in handrails with the stair treads, which was a bit of a go in the 60s, anybody who studied architecture then. So from that time on, that I had to work, I've been working in local and state government, and I've been basically trying to turn the Queen Mary. Now let me tell you, the Queen Mary, I'm not a strong swimmer, and the Queen Mary is extraordinarily difficult to turn, but the Queen Mary is trying to get planning based into as a design base. So, not easy. Liverpool is about, has anybody been to Liverpool? Yes. It's 35k southwest of Sydney, and it's fighting to be the third city of the airport, etc. Okay, now Rob asked me to talk about Design Excellence Panel, so very quickly I will speak about that, and then I will actually speak about what really matters to me. Okay, the Design Excellence Panel was SEP 65 panels adopted in March. The main scope has been buildings, RFBs, etc. Designers on the panel, and it's chaired by the Government Architect's Office, and people keep asking me, gee, how did you score that? But that's another story, and we're very lucky in that regard. We don't have any competitions. There's a whole issue about feasibility out there, and with the change in our code, maybe that was a mistake. The panel works, the matters that go to the panel are decided by planners, and there's a meeting 1 day a month, approximately 4 to 6 applications per meeting. The draft minutes are preferred, and you'll know that a lot of design panels operate quite differently in who provides the minutes. In our case, I'm the convener, I provide draft minutes, they go to the panellists, they do whatever that massage them to how they want them and sign off by the chair. When they come back to council, they then go out to the applicant with planning notes as well. So the applicants actually get both the planning and the design comments together, and not always do they align. What works, what doesn't work? Look, since we've had the Design Excellence Panel, it's been far better for, we've got a lot more actual genuine architects, and our panel's been very strict with saying you've got to have your number on the drawings, the architect's got to turn up to the panel, not this, somebody that once picked up a pencil and decided to put an RFB together. So it's been supportive for architects. It's been really some good support with the planners within council, greater certainty for applicants, and it's really helpful when the applicant's sitting there with the designer, with the architect, and the architect says, well, actually, no, you can't get 10 more stories. Oh, it's just a pop-up. And the architects, because the Design Excellence Panel is actually saying, well, no, you can't get 10 more stories, that is helpful for all the good architects that work out there, and we need some more. We desperately need more design input into our planning controls, all our planning documents, and I'd have to say that the standard instrument was, I think, the worst thing that could have happened to planning in New South Wales. And I basically prefer design-based controls, and I've done a lot of work on that in various councils, but you could always get round it when you didn't have the standard instrument, because you could put all your controls in your DCP and you could do proper design related for infill and a whole, or various other, Hurstville Town Centre, etc. So we've just attempted to do that now with a review of the LEP based on typologies for Liverpool city centre. We had to put in the LEP because you've got to put height and floor space in that instrument and not in your DCP. These are some of the technical hurdles. I'm just advising you about, we had to put in this very convoluted formula that didn't really work anyway, so in the end we had to take that out and just rely on the drawings in the DCP. Now, so, apologies, I should have whizzed through that. Okay, now, what really matters? Design excellence has to be about more than just individual buildings. It has to be how the city goes together. And that really is about master planning, and right now, master planning or infill master planning is really, really bad in our city. It's been recorded. Oh, I didn't want the job anyway. Okay, so I'm just going to take three areas: brownfields, infill and greenfields. We're building or proposing density, not urban. They're two different things. We're relying on something, the 65 breaks my heart, solar access and separation, as though that's the only thing you need in a master plan. That is ridiculous. The most important things are street patterns, relationships. In fact, standardising space is the worst thing you could do, because that actually makes it really, really boring city. No accurate drawings, only it's all based on graphics. I said to our guys in property recently, I said, why did you choose that scheme for the civic place that doesn't have a place? Why did you choose that scheme? And they knew what they said to me: you should have seen the fly-through. You should have seen the fly-through. The other thing that all designers must remember is that most councillors and most people cannot read drawings. So it's like giving them a piece of Chinese. If you put a drawing in front of a councillor, any councillors here? How many people have I offended? If you it's like many people cannot read drawings, so we really need to be able to understand how things go together. Okay, design excellence in brownfields. This is just a master plan, a planning proposal at the moment. There are up to 40 towers, up to 40 stories on Liverpool, on the Georges River. Hugely dense, 1,300 persons per hectare. So what I'm saying is that really the master plan, we have to look at street patterns, we have to look at the land. But this is on sloppy soil. This is on a riverbank that slides into the river daily. We have to really start thinking about how we do densify our city and how important the master plan is, because if they get the master plan wrong, that's it for a long time. The little image up on the right is actually Bercy in Paris, which if you ever go to Paris, have a look, it's marvellous infill. The next one I wanted to show you is Infield. This land was brownfields, but had been zoned for residential. There are one-storey buildings, just on, not sure where the pointer is here, one-storey buildings, and this is hard against the river, again over 1,000 persons per hectare. Everything's vertical. If you look at that, it says speak to developers, vertical schools, vertical open space, vertical streets, everything's vertical, so the rest of it is all buildings. And the last one I want to mention, you'll be pleased, Rob, I hope I haven't gone over time, is Greenfields. Because whilst we are concerning ourselves with individual buildings that take up relatively small amounts of land, we are at the same time covering our land. Almost 100% concrete, no trees, saline soil out there, it's not sandstone, so I don't know what's going to happen to the reinforcing in the concrete slabs in 100 years' time. No deep soil, no trees, air conditioners going. So I just put that little image up the top right is Germany. They don't even have sun in Germany, and they're building, and they're building this, and we are building acres of this. And the heat island effect is really problematic. It's already 5 degrees hotter out there and 5 degrees colder, etc. So again, we really need to look at design excellence. I'm sure they have amazing bench tops in those houses. They've got Caesar-stone bench tops, and they've got hoods, and they've got running hot and cold bathrooms that do everything. But how the whole city goes together is really a question I think all of us should be asking. And my last image. So, design excellence has to start with how the city goes together. And that means a really hard look of how we evaluate master plans, what we include in master plans, the kinds of things they need to understand, And design-led planning requires, I believe, urbanism and not town planning. Now, there's the town planners, that whole Anglo-Saxon movement of town planning that wants to zone everything, generic codes, process, etc. I don't think is the right animal for changing a city that we need to change relatively quickly we need to change it at a different scale and in a very short time frame. So I'll be advocating that we need urbanism, which is based on morphology, on what is the land doing. I mean, if any city in the world has this amazing complexity of actual geography and land, architecture, drawings, and establishing, we have got this now, what do we want this to be like? And we don't just keep changing the floor space as the years go on. We say that place is going to be like this, and we look at streets and public domain. So with master plan, if you get a building wrong, over time, that will change, and we can see that. But in terms of you get your street, or you don't have public streets, if you don't have a good street pattern, if you don't have your master planning right, that's it for an extraordinarily long time. So thank you.